Hello there! No, keep waiting. The anticipation is building. I'm just gonna start this over and actually read the script. You can have a few takes in there, why not, Mur? Hey there. You might notice this intro isn't at the rink. My footage is bad. I had quite the week. The morning I filmed ended up being an over 20-hour shift for me. 3 of my 4 drivers for the day called out sick. By that night, I still had hopes of filming on another morning to have something better to share, but Thursday ended up closing and opening Friday morning, and so I just worked through the night. Specifically, I removed ice from the creases on rinks 2 and 3 because I was practicing corner pulls, which I will elaborate on later. So, I have some pretty not great footage to share of a pretty horrendous corner pull technique, but I'm working my butt off to have a repeatable and precise corner pull technique, and I already have a much better idea of how to film it. So for this video, we'll primarily be talking about numbers though, because that's what I've got for you. Moving on to what I did film, we'll run through that real quick. My edging plan was just an extra pass in each crease before edging the entire sheet. One thing I noted in my scrapped intro was that I suspected the Zam blade was probably quite dull. It was day 7 on that blade and it had some particularly heavy use in the week prior. Because of this, I planned to do a cleanup lap with my blade lifted up 2 turns after edging. You can see here that it was still too much for the dull blade to cut through in the corners at 2 turns lifted from its set point. I had to lift my conditioner and loop back around, being brought to a halt by the friction between the blade and the ice. Before I show you footage of my corner pull, I'd like to give you my artist's rendition of what I have written down in my Zam Bible for how to drive a corner pull. The topic comes up on a few instances in my timeless and omniscient journal, and every single time I attach the same doodle. And given that as my only reference, perhaps you will have a better understanding of why it has been such a learning experience for me to figure out these corner pulls, because I really just... I go, wee, it's like I'm drawing a spring. And this does not represent the turning radius of a Zamboni, the actual width of a Zamboni, or addressing your corners. And I'm now going to show you the video of me actually driving one. This is like 3 sets of corner pulls ago. I have gotten a lot better at it. But you'll see it looks absolutely nothing like this. And here's the footage of my corner pull. In reality, the corner pull pattern that I am honing in on as I practice it more is much more nuanced. I am raising and dropping my blade based on the high spots and low spots that I am aware of from paint brightness and ice depths, but I am generally starting deep in the corner, working my way out through the face-off dots, and then repeating it one more time with my blade going down an extra half turn in the highest spots. My circles are asymmetrical and tend to lean towards the goal crease. So do I have any takeaways from my first 2 ice depth maps taken a week apart? In the time between taking these ice depths, I drove corner pull dry shave patterns on 2 separate occasions, as well as my rink hosting a large tournament from Friday through Sunday, which had resurfaces after the second period and at the end of the game. For this reason, I expect that ice depths likely dropped across the board. Now I'm going to go off script and click through this presentation of data that I made earlier, and hopefully it's not too much droning on. So I'm going to go through this a little bit quick. This is my 12-4 ice depths. I believe I've already published these for you. And then we've got the 12-11 ice depths, and again, this is a PowerPoint. I've got it broken down so we can look at it more closely, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But this is my map of ice depths. Basically, I wanted to be able to put all these numbers down into an Excel spreadsheet and track them. So there's 5 points per zone, 5 data points, except for G, which is 10. Yeah, so 1 through 5 is that corner right by the Zam door. And then B is the crease, and I'm not going to elaborate any further because each zone has a PowerPoint where I can discuss the zone change. So here we've got point 1, which was 2.38 inches on 12.4 and 2.7 inches on 12.11, and Points 2 through 5, the same as listed, and then it's just real simple calculation of what's the difference there. And then I wanted to have a change in zone average where I summed up the 12-11 depths and subtracted the 12-4 depths. And the idea is that a negative figure should show a decrease in depth over time. So the zone stats for A is 0.004 inches in change. So that was pretty much 0. You can see that A is marked as 0.00. Zone B was a change of about 1/5 of an inch decrease in ice buildup in that crease, negative 0.19. C is where I actually had to eliminate an outlier. So you'll see this a couple of times, but on 12.4, I noted that point 15 was 1.29 inches, and then on 12.11, it was 2.46 inches, and I feel comfortable marking that as an outlier even though I've only got 2 data points because I know I didn't build 1.1 inches of ice there, and so there must have been a high or low spot in the concrete that I found on one ice depth and didn't on the other. Zone D, of the 5 data points, I knocked 2 of them out for being what I perceive to be outliers, and that would be because points 17 and 19 are both against the boards being hit by the edge irregularly, and also it's in the troublesome corners. So frankly, on 12.4, I was skeptical of the 174 and the 172 on 17 and 19 respectively. The 244 and 243 looks more right to me, but because I don't know which of those values to trust, I just eliminated them as outliers, and we ended up with just under 1/5 of an inch in the average decrease in ice depth there. Zone E is this next crease here. This was a big change. I didn't have any outliers that I marked, but it ended up being 3/10 of an inch decrease in ice level. Here we go to F. This seems to be our biggest one. I marked 0.29 as a potential outlier because it went from 2.06 inches to 1.3 inches. However, you'll see that the change in zone average I highlighted in green because I did not mark this as an outlier. I could see with my bare eyes that the side of the red circle there across from 0.29, the vinyl was really bright, so it was definitely significantly lower than before, and when I was doing my corner pulls, I actually started not hugging that wall so much on my first part of the corner pull. Over time, I don't think, well, I didn't even film that corner. Again, my footage is pretty sus for this week, hence the data deep dive. This is kind of awkwardly cropped. I figured it was less overwhelming this way, but I still don't like that it's cropped like this. I didn't have any outliers in Zone G. Change of 1/5 of an inch, decrease in ice level average. And then moving on, this is what we have overall. So you can see A, 0.00, but about 1/5 of an inch decrease for B, about 3/10 for C, about 1/5 of an inch for D, 3/10 for E, a big 0.42 inch decrease for zone F. However, a lot of that is coming from that door area where I know it's lower. And then G. And I believe I discussed earlier how we had some pretty heavy use in the last week, so G being down across the board doesn't shock me and doesn't concern me too much. I can't lie. While I am very excited about this data, I am overall disappointed in what I delivered for you all this week, so what can you expect from next week? Well, not me procrastinating it until next week, I tell you that much. It is tomorrow morning that I'll be filming the next video. I am filming again tomorrow. I will do a better job filming my corner pull, and I will also be driving a more effective corner pull pattern. So I'm at Acrylic Ice Depths tonight. I did a corner pull on ring 3 as part of my morning maintenance today, and that means that 2 more sets of corner pulls have been done between ice depths. Last Thursday and this morning. I like having that as a constant for the month for whatever it's worth, which I imagine is quite little since there is no consistency between my corner pulls. However, as I get better at corner pulls, I'll be able to drive a more repeatable and standardized pattern. The more I hone in on this pattern, the more effectively I'll be able to target high spots, I currently feel kind of blind and brutal. I prefer to feel gentle and surgical on the machine. Someone mentioned to me recently that I drive pretty deep into the boards on my turns. My intention is to maintain as much of a constant speed as possible while keeping traction between my tires and the ice. So I try to have large and gentle turns. This is also why I drive one outside lap instead of two. Large, gentle, and precise turns. And that is the level of comfort I hope to achieve with corner poles. Once I get this nailed down, I can teach my staff and even further hone in on maintaining a level sheet of ice. So, please, tune in next week. If it hasn't already finished playing in the background, enjoy the rest of my clear coat.